Okay, so now that we have an idea about what objects are and what it means to be attached to the data, bound or unbound, it's time to actually start making stuff. How cool is that? So we're going to start with text boxes because that is the most common thing that you're going to see in a form. The process laid out here is going to be about the same, regardless of whether you're in Access, Libre, or other database management software stuff. So first you have to, well, create the form and then attach the data source to the form. Now, data sources can be just simple tables. They can be queries. So that's where if we need to get information from multiple tables together, you create that SQL query that we spent 3 weeks working on, and then that will be the source of your information for your form. And thinking about that, you can see why sometimes the queries can get a little hairy because you need a lot of information on one form. Or you can create a SQL statement just for the form itself. Then you add the text box itself, and then you bind the text box to the specific attribute. This is going to look a little different, whether depending on your platform, but the steps here are going to be what you're going to follow. Okay, so I'm going to pause and switch over to Access so we can see what I'm talking about. Okay. Oh, I'm gonna have to share the correct screen, y'all. That would be very helpful. There we go. Okay, so our Access database here is the Northwind. This is the employee table, like the real one from here. And I'm actually going to zoom down to the employee form that is from the what's already created here for you. And you can see that we have several text boxes. These should be super familiar to you from just normal internet life. These are 2 separate objects. So you have a name, a label basically for your text box, then you have the text box itself. And here you can see there's even tabs, and they've got multiple, and you can see that they're formatted differently, placed around in different spots, which is cool. This bottom part here with the records, you can see that there's 9 records in here, and you can go through them like that. Great. Okay, so what do these records mean? Well, coincidentally, there's 9 employee records in here. And so if we want to look at the form in the design view, we can see that the form itself, the record source is actually employees. We can look at the drop-down list here, and you can see the tables, like the orders table is right there. You can see like the employee sales by country, go down to our query list. Employee sales by country. So you can see that this is a list of all of the queries and all the tables in there. So because we know that it's attached to the employees table, and you can see the employees table has 9 entries, it makes sense that the records in here, when we could see that, was the same 9. Does that have anything to do with the ID numbers? No, that is a pure coincidence that the ID numbers, because they're an auto-generated thing, they're just going to number 1 through 9, which is pretty convenient. Okay, so when you're looking at the individual, now we said that first we needed to attach the data source to the form. We could see that in the form properties, employees here, record source. After the text boxes are added, we need to attach the actual attribute to the specific field. And we can see over here, it says control source first name. That is telling us that it is the first name in that table that's been selected. And you can see that the only options here are literally just the attributes in our table, which could hopefully kind of intuitively make sense, right? Okay, so that's the basics. Let's see what this looks like when you're making things. I already started playing around with this of creating a new one, so you can see that it's set up the same way. We've got the same 9 records, juke to the front, juke to the back. Going to actually, and I will, because I want to demo the first part of that, I'm going to actually delete that. Yes, delete it. Okay, let's make a new one. Create. Form design. Got a brand new spigot form here. Going to label this employees. Going to add in. Okay, so see. Okay, so and I did out of order. Does it really matter? No, because I'm going to do this now. So the record source here is going to be the employees table right there. Beautiful. Here you can see that it's asking, do you want to allow additions and deletions and edits? Yes, 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 yes. If we said no, that would change the way that it functions. It would add layers of protection. So if you don't want any employee data to be edited by this form, but only new entries, you can set it one way. If you want this to be no new employees, only editing, you can set it another, for example. So that's a way to protect your data from being messed with. Okay, here, when you click on the actual item itself, you see this changes to control source. And we can, let's start with title. So this is title. Okay, we can add another one. I'm just clicking this one. We want to be first name, Sunbound. Let's bind it to the first name over here. Okay, so another way to do this a little bit faster, but you should understand the basics of that. We can add in the last name. It's smart enough. I can move that field up and down a little bit to make it kind of equidistant with the other ones here, which has 3 dots in between, 3 dots in between. If we look at the property sheet here, we can see that's already connected into the last name. Beautiful. Makes it nice and easy. Okay, so let's check out what this looks like. Yes, let's save it. Caret employee. Boop. Open this up. And okay, so we can see, okay, well, it functions, but the title here is a little too short, right? Let's go back into design view here. And I used shift to control them all, and we're going to make these longer like that. So you're going to find that these editing capabilities are going to be very similar to what you're used to using in PowerPoint or Microsoft Word or any of these Microsoft products. They're similar, they're just not as good sometimes. Like if you're looking for the fancier things, sometimes you're not going to find it. But the basic functionality of these are very similar. The added thing that it has is that you can edit things using these. And you see that there's a drop down list of these, so you can switch which thing you're pointing at. Okay, so label 0 is employees. Here, you can actually edit what it says from here. So caption, job title. Now this one is too short, so I'm going to actually extend these out like that. You do that and say, let's say that I want all of these to be bold, and it bolded it on all 3 because they're selected. So hopefully again, it's a little intuitive because you're used to these kind of things. Save that, open again. Beautiful. There we go. Those are bold. They're wider fields. We can see the whole title. Beautiful. Okay, so that's text boxes in a nutshell. You can, I think we left this as where you can add in new things. So see what happens when we try to add in someone else. Okay, so we've got the HR director is Jody Jameson. It's in there. Let's see what happens when we reopen employees there. Oh, look, there she is. However, was this a great form? No, not really, because look at all the information that was not put in there because our form only had a few of the fields. So something to keep in mind when we're creating our data entry forms. Make sure you have all the information that you want to be able to enter all at once, because otherwise you're going to have nulls, and that's not cool. Okay, so that is access. I'm going to pause the recording again. Okay, switching over to Libre, and I'm actually using the school database that we had from our homeworks. Libre is going to be very much the same format. I'm going to open the student form in this. You can see one that's already pre-made a little bit. So this one's also attached to a table. This one I generated using a wizard, so it's super fast. Form properties. You can see that is attached to a table. If you wanted to attach it to queries, look at all these queries that I could attach it to that we made in the last couple of weeks. Isn't that fancy? But this is designed off of this. You can see here we have the same options of allowing additions, modifications, deletions, etc., which is nice that it's all cleanly laid out there. It's got a name just like an access. Cool. When you click on this and you're like, oh, can I get to the form properties? Frustratingly, no. It just goes to the main one. And it took me a little while to figure this one out. So if you go to Form Navigator, you can see all of the things that are in here. So this, and you can see it actually selects it for you. So see these little tags mean label. This is the actual text field. If we go to properties on that, with that selected, now we get the same thing. We get, this is the data field is the same thing as the other one where we could select all of the attributes inside of the table. So it's a little harder to find. You have to go to Form Navigator. Easiest way is down here. I believe it's also here. So our Libre folks, keep that in mind. If you want the main form, that's the entire form, you can also get to the properties like that. Okay, otherwise it operates exactly the same in terms of adding things. This has a text box, all the things that are in here. So anything we add is extra. Difference being that for the text boxes and access, you have to actually draw them out and then do the label separately. I actually named it name. Go to the navigator. I always want to double click and that's not what you're supposed to do. It is a label field. Visible, blah, blah, blah. You could do the positioning, all sorts of stuff in there. You can do background colors. You can like make this one pop if you want to for some reason. You can add borders. Let's do something like that. Yeah, you can even all sorts of things. So you can mess around with it like that. This one is named textbox 1. So in here, you can specify more there. Same thing, you can edit background colors and stuff like that in there. You can also let's see, I believe you can kind of goes back and forth on what you can edit at one point. So yeah, you're just gonna have to play around with it a little bit and kind of get used to whichever platform you're using. I'm more used to Access, so Libre is a little more awkward for me. But you can see that you have almost most of the drawing tools and things that are available to you in basically Word is basically available here. It's just learning the icons. Okay, and that should hold true for any platform you use. If you switch to like Oracle or whatever, the fundamentals should be the same. I haven't actually used those things, but that's what Libre said in his lecture. So I'm gonna trust that. Maybe our folks with more experience in other platforms can verify. Yep, so that's text boxes. I'll get you through a lot. We're gonna go to combo boxes next, which is this, but more.